And you'd be surprised maybe to say that I thought that video conferencing and teleworking was the main. No, not really. It's good to telecommute, of course, that's positive from the environment. But if you really want to make a change, you should address the issue of heating buildings. And this is why it's so important with smart metering, and you can see a smart meter just outside here, because that brings awareness about how much energy you actually consume. And have smart buildings which are connected, where all the appliances can communicate and turn on and off themselves. So once you forget to turn off your TV, it turns off itself. So this is where we really can make a big difference. This is all network related, so there's a great potential. What can we do from a fixed access point of view? Well, we can do a lot, and we have lots of solutions within Alcatel-Lucent. Specifically, we're working on DSL power consumption. I will not talk so much about this here because this is more of a fixed access form or fiber-related form, but there are lots of actually things you can do to reduce the power consumption. But basically, there are three domains you should attack. One of them is customer premises, one is the outside plant, and one is the network environment. Now, I wonder, which one do you think is the most important one? Think for yourself, which one will you guess? And here comes the answer. Voila. Well, you don't see the answer yet, but let me explain. This is a study conducted by the FTTH Council, again, in Europe, where we try to do a full life cycle analysis of an FTTH network, deployment and usage. And what you see to the right is that 83% of the impact from FTTH comes from the passive fiber network deployment. This is the digging of the ducts, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we really can make a difference. So the outside plant is very important if you want to be environmental friendly. With that being said, of course you have to look into power consumption and so on, but don't forget about the outside plant. What you see to the left is the FTTH payback time. So FTTH initially will have an impact, that's clearly a negative impact. But then if we apply the service that I just talked about, in this case we just counted two of them, teleworking and video conferencing and some e-health. So no actually assumption about the smart grids and smart homes actually. Then you'll see that the payback time for different environmental metrics like human toxicity and so forth, all pays themselves back within 15 years. So the initial impact is outpaced by the positive impact of these services within 15 years in Europe. If you look to the US, it's much shorter actually, 6 years. And what is the reason for FTTH being more environmental friendly in the US, you may ask yourself? Well, it's one single answer to that, and it's very easy. In the US, they have much more aerial fiber, so they don't have to dig it. So coming back to what you see to the right, if you can avoid digging or minimize digging or sharing the ducts, you can make a big, big difference. But, okay, from an Alcatel-Lucent point of view, we are not the diggers, we are the ones doing the network equipment. So we, of course, had to look into our equipment, so we did full life cycle analysis of our GPON solution and our DSL solution as well. And basically the trend you see is the following, it's very simple. The main impact comes from the ONT or the CP. About 70 to 80% is related to the usage in the home. This is not surprising because there are so many devices in the home as compared to what you have in the central office. So again, if you want to be green, you should attack the home environment. Now there's a dilemma here, of course, that the operator himself doesn't pay for this electricity. He pays for the yellow part, the power consumption in the central office. So we have to look into that one as well. But just to be clear that the home environment and green ONTs are very important from an environmental point of view. So these are just some examples of environmental friendly kind of initiatives we're working on, and I will not go into all of them here, but we specifically are proud of something called a distributed design concept, which is a unique Alcatel-Lucent way of deploying an FTTM network, which comes with a lower power consumption. But just looking into a bit what's happening with the technologies we're doing. In Europe we have something called the European Code of Conduct, and that sets target for power consumption for different access technologies. And what you see here is basically the power consumption we measure in our labs up to 2008, and then you see the European Code of Conduct targets for 2009 and 2010. And what you basically see here is that all the technologies are making good progress towards these targets. The targets are sound, they are reasonable. And we don't see any issue why we cannot meet them, actually. So these are good targets. And this is not a revolution, this is an evolution. It has to do with higher degrees of integration, more efficiency in the electronics and so forth. This is how we are gradually decreasing the power consumption for our access equipment. And one thing that stands out is that the GPON technology is certainly best in class. It's the greenest access technology you can imagine. So it's outstanding, although others like ADS and VDS2 are also making good progress. GPON is certainly the most green technology you can have in access today. Just to, show me the money. What does it mean? Well, this is an example from Europe with a typical cost per kilowatt hour. Average Europe, it varies a lot in Europe, I would say, but roughly 0.1 euros per kilowatt hour. And if we take a 5-year lifetime cost per 5-year per user, you see that you can, by deploying GPON instead of point-to-point, you can save 30 euros per subscriber, which is quite significant, I would say. So you can be green and save some money. Not too bad. Another thing we're working with when it comes to the PON technology, or FTTH and FTTB, is to have as much passively cooled equipment in the basement. So we have solutions for that, both for the distributed DSLAM concept and for GPON, where we have passively cooled FTTB ONUs. This brings down the power consumption. It has other benefits as well, they're completely quiet and so on, but this is one way to reduce the power consumption in the home devices. And we're also proud to launch the new line of ONTs, which is a significant step forward in many cases, in many views. One is that this new line of ONTs comes with significantly reduced power, up to 30% as compared to previous generation ONTs. The second part of this is that they come with full gigabit Ethernet wire speed, so they're not blocking by no means. You can run the full dynamic bandwidth allocation into these ONTs. And they will come in different varieties and with residential gateway functionality if needed and so forth. So watch out for this great new line of ONTs.